I'll fight you right now.
No, I don't want to fight, bro.
I'll go with you right now.
Bro, I don't want to fight, bro. I don't want to fight.
Let's go.
I don't want to fight.
Let's go.
Radio, have you?
Yeah, tell him, come on.
Get a couple of
because it's gonna be bad.
Bro, just
it's gonna be bad, my nigga.
No, bro.
If I told you the man you are looking at right now, slurring his words, cursing at airline workers, and threatening to fight an armed police officer in the middle of an airport, was one of the most universally beloved, wealthy, and respected martial artists on the planet, would you believe it?
Just relax.
Give me a blue one.
This is Dustin Poirier. By every conventional metric of the American dream, he won the game. He survived a decade of absolute wars inside a steel cage.
I think it's 5 or 6 world champions that I beat in the UFC.
You fought Max Holloway, you fought Habib, fought Conor. You pretty much fought the who's who of the sport.
So I want to be undisputed world champion, no argument, and I can walk away a champion forever.
He secured tens of millions of dollars, built a beautiful family, and earned the right to walk away into a peaceful, quiet retirement.
And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here. There was days I went home, busted and broken, and she believed in me when I didn't believe in myself.
But then, the fighting stopped.
Dustin, it has been an honor for me to stand here and call your fights. Congratulations on a fantastic career, my friend.
Today, the man who used to showcase supreme discipline in front of millions of people is being placed in handcuffs for public drunkenness on Father's Day.
You did what you could.
Nothing fills that void of what fighting was in my life. You know, I haven't found anything yet. I don't think there is.
So, what actually happens when a fighting career ends? Is this the terrifying reality of a psychological breakdown that happens when a fighter has nothing left to fight for? In this video, we are going to break down the epidemic of identity death, the tragic reality, and the psychological collapse of the modern fighter. This is Red Line Theory. To truly understand the gravity of Dustin Poirier's airport arrest, you have to understand the sheer psychological conditioning required to survive in mixed martial arts. We aren't just talking about athletes who train hard. We are talking about human beings who have altered their brain chemistry.
I don't care if I get knocked out or choked unconscious. I'm not scared of the outcome.
I love violence. It's the only place that I feel calm.
To become a UFC champion, you have to intentionally construct a mental architecture engineered entirely for extreme pain tolerance and precise violence. You spend 15 years wiring your dopamine and serotonin release entirely to the survival of physical trauma and the domination of another human being. Your nervous system is conditioned to flood with adrenaline in cyclical, high-dose intervals.
It is a rough sport. I've had injuries, but I try not to think about that too much. That could be tomorrow's problem.
It consumed me, man. It consumed me. Fighting was my entire life.
But there is a fatal flaw in the architecture of the fight game. The industry provides absolutely no off switch. When the career abruptly ends, the external target vanishes. Stripped of the opponent, the training camp, the weight cut, and the arena hype, that weaponized mind has nowhere left to aim but inward.
Guys do struggle to find that high again. That high of walking out on that field, that high of coming out in that stadium, 90,000 people screaming for you. People try to reach that again. That's why a lot of guys gamble. That's why guys drink. They're looking for that feeling that you get of being a top athlete like Poirier is, or was.
Dustin Poirier's breakdown in the Atlanta airport was not a character flaw. It was a catastrophic mechanical failure. Confronted by authority, a normal civilian de-escalates, but when a fighter feels threatened under the influence of alcohol, their state of mind overrides their normal restraint, so they escalate instead.
Dustin was in juvenile detention centers. He's a school dropout. Fighting legitimately saved his life. That was the thing he was good at. And because he did it so long, he doesn't know what else he's good at.
2 days after the airport video leaked, Dustin took to social media and offered a raw, unfiltered assessment of his own mind. He confessed that walking away from fighting had been excruciatingly difficult. He stated he was at a point where he needed real professional help. He acknowledged that alcohol was not the answer, referencing the generational trauma of his own father, and admitted he was trapped in an internal void, desperately trying to get his mind right. The industry immediately recognized the pathology. Former UFC champion Jon Jones, a man who has famously battled his own highly publicized, catastrophic legal and substance abuse issues, reached out to advise Poirier.
I hope that Dustin keeps his head high, gets back on his horse. He didn't hurt anybody. You know, he was drunk. We've all been drunk. Alcohol makes you do silly things.
When Jon Jones is the guy warning you about a psychological collapse, you know the situation is a systemic epidemic. The hollowing out of the fighter is an occupational hazard disguised by the public as a personal failure. We as fight fans demand a level of psychotic dedication that fundamentally destroys the baseline of normalcy required to function in society.
We all love watching people punch each other. It's entertaining. Punch, kicking, and then afterwards we like seeing them get knocked down on the floor, and it's entertaining for us.
The fighter absorbs their entire self into the singular role of fighter, and when that role expires, the human being underneath ceases to exist. Every fighter who steps away must face a brutal process of identity death. The timeline of identity death always begins with the first stage, the delusion. This is the absolute pathological refusal to step out of the spotlight. It is driven by a desperate inability to accept the expiration of one's physical prime. Look at Conor McGregor. It is July 2026. The blistering heat of Las Vegas serves as the backdrop for UFC 329. McGregor is 37 years old. He possesses immense sovereign wealth. He has the yacht, the Hollywood movies, the global whiskey brand, and more money than he could spend in 3 lifetimes. Yet he is entirely incapable of buying the one commodity he actually craves, the visceral, godlike high of being in the cage.
You have conquered the sport. You have been at the top. You have made millions inside and out of the octagon. Why return?
Yeah, the thing is, my most relaxed state is in there. My most state of freedom is making that walk. You know, I yearn for competition.
It has been exactly 5 years since McGregor last competed. 5 years since his leg snapped in half against Dustin Poirier.
There was no check. There was not one of them I checked. Your wife is in me DMs, hey baby. Hit me back on my chat till later on. We'll be at the after party, the Win nightclub, baby.
5 years of surgically repaired bones, canceled returns, and a desperately constructed facade.
I always say an injury is a process of, not just a process of recovery, it's a process of discovery. You uncover a lot about yourself. You uncover a lot about your frame, your body, your movements, your mechanics, what you must do to maintain. This allowed me to carry on with my career, and you know, it will bring longevity to my career.
Yeah. He is scheduled to headline against Max Holloway, stepping into a cage against a highly active, durable fighter who has spent the last half-decade knocking people unconscious. Yet McGregor wears his delusion like a suit of armor. He's actively using his billionaire persona to shield his aging fighter identity. He aggressively dismisses top active contenders, calling them atrocious and woeful.
I don't rate them. To tell you the truth, I don't rate them.
Yeah.
I don't rate them. Not on my level. And rather than saying it and getting into more detail on it, I would rather just show it.
Just think about his psychology at this moment. He has to lie to himself because the truth is too terrifying to acknowledge. If he admits that he is no longer a championship level fighter, he has to face the silence of his own retirement. He is forcing himself to chase the ghost of his 2016 double champion dominance because acknowledging reality would mean stepping into the void. The delusion is the only thing keeping the terror of obsolescence at bay. But delusion always has an expiration date. When it finally collides with the physical reality of the octagon, it forces the fighter into the second stage, the physical sacrifice. This is the grim reality of fighting a new, ascending crop of hungry contenders using the deeply ingrained muscle memory of a champion, but possessing the eroded hunger and compromised reflexes of a wealthy veteran. The mind remembers exactly how to win. The brain sends the signal. But the body can no longer execute the command with the necessary fraction of a second timing.
I know what worked for me before, what doesn't work now. You have to be open to learning new ways and unlearning old habits, which is where I'm at. And that comes with maturity and age and experience in this game.
You see this exact tragedy unfold with Israel Adesanya. He is a legend without a doubt. He cleared out the middleweight division in his prime.
I'm the king, and he wants to try and get that away from me. You guys see what happens when my back's against the wall.
But recently he steps into that cage expecting another routine showcase of his superior distance management. Instead, his body betrays him. Younger fighters are capitalizing on the compromised reflexes of the 36-year-old former champion. It is devastating to watch. One of the greatest strikers in the history of the sport completely dominated and stopped by younger fighters.
I love and respect Izzy, but when we get in there, dog, you're trying to take something from me, and that's not going to happen, not for free. And I'm not afraid to swing big. When I swing, I'll be swinging to fucking kill him. So.
But the true horror of the physical sacrifice isn't the knockout itself. It is the immediate psychological response to the violence. In the direct aftermath of taking extreme brain trauma, Adesanya grabbed the microphone and confirmed to the media that he had absolutely no plans to retire.
How do you move forward after a fight like this? After another great, you keep going again and again and again and again and again. I'm not fucking leaving.
He is caught in a physical loop. He is willingly offering his brain and his body as a sacrifice to the industry because he cannot conceptualize a life outside of the cycle of training camps and high-stakes fights. The hunger that built his empire has vanished, replaced by a compulsive, self-destructive obligation to the identity of the last stylebender. He would literally rather take irreversible physical damage than wake up in the morning without a fight scheduled. When that physical sacrifice results in a loss so catastrophic that it fundamentally shatters the fighter's foundational myth, they enter the third stage, the psychological collapse. This is the total disintegration of self-worth when the aura of invincibility is violently dismantled in front of the world. Ronda Rousey built a global empire on the idea that she could not be touched. Her entire identity, her marketability, and her self-worth were predicated exclusively on being an untouchable, dominant force. She convinced the world and herself that she was bulletproof.
I'm scared to death of failure. I'm so scared to lose. Way more than any of these other girls. And it's the kind of thing that it keeps me up at night.
If you were to fight Floyd Mayweather, would he stand a chance?
I'll tell you what I'd do. I would drop down to the ground and crawl over to him as fast as I can. I would just bear crawl over there, just too low for him to hit me, and I'd tackle him down. That's my plan.
So once you get him to the ground, then that could be it.
But the moment you convince the world you are a god, you lose the right to bleed like a human. When she finally experienced a catastrophic loss, she could not mentally reconcile existing as a fighter who could be beaten. Her persona allowed no room for vulnerability, no room for technical flaws, and absolutely no room for defeat. The cognitive dissonance was fatal to her fighter identity.
I was like, what am I anymore if I'm not this? And I was literally sitting there and like thinking about killing myself, and then exact second I'm like, I'm nothing. I'm like, what do I do anymore?
Because her ego was entirely tethered to supremacy, a loss was not just a professional setback, it was an existential annihilation. The shattering of her invincibility resulted in a complete and abrupt psychological withdrawal from the sport. She vanished from the public eye.
I've never seen fans turn on a fighter that hard, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but why?
MMA fans and media are the most "what have you done for us lately" crowd of any sport.
She blamed all of us for it, the media, the fans, just because she lost.
This wasn't a failure of courage, it was a severe psychological trauma response. She had to completely kill the fighter identity just to protect whatever tiny fragment of human identity remained. She is the archetypal warning of a psychological machine built so rigidly that it could not bend to reality, it could only break entirely. If a fighter manages to survive the delusion, survive the physical sacrifice, and navigate the psychological collapse to retire on their own terms, they finally arrive at the terminal point. Stage 4, the void. Which brings us right back to Dustin Poirier in the Atlanta airport. He survived the wars. He walked away with his head held high. But the second he stopped fighting, the trap snapped shut. Stripped of the structured chaos of his training camps, the obsessive daily routines, and the singular focus on an opponent, he stepped directly into the abyss. The residual adrenaline doesn't just evaporate, it ferments. Without an opponent to hit, the brain subconsciously manufactures a conflict just to trigger the familiar neurochemical cascade. Wrestling in the airport bar, threatening the police officer, and using alcohol as an anesthetic to numb the hyperactivity of his nervous system, these are the symptoms of a mind suffocating in the void. The machine is still running at maximum capacity, but it has no target, so it tears itself apart from the inside.
If I could link it to something, it was I lost a big fight, came back home.
With which fight?
My second fight with Justin Gaethje.
Yeah.
Lost that one, came back home, everything was good, and then I was really emotional, man. You know, some days I would be fine, some days I would be sad, and I was like, something's off, you know, something's off. So that's when I started going to therapy and trying to unpack some of the stuff that I didn't even know I was walking around with, you know.
Every fight fan knows about the physical weight cut. It is a torturous process of extreme dehydration and caloric deprivation, bringing the body to the brink of organ failure just to step on a scale. But nobody ever talks about the phantom weight cut. Even outside the cage, even years after retirement, these fighters are trapped in an agonizing cycle of psychological dehydration. They starve themselves of normal human emotional regulation just to maintain the phantom identity of the warrior. Look at them. Conor McGregor, pacing around Las Vegas, his eyes wild with a desperate need to reclaim a past that is already gone. Israel Adesanya, lying flat on a canvas in Seattle, refusing to stop taking damage. Ronda Rousey, retreating into absolute darkness to hide from a world that only loved her when she was perfect. And Dustin Poirier, sitting detained on the cold tile of an airport, looking up with the hollow realization that the fight is over, but the war in his mind is not. Despite their vastly different circumstances, they are all engaged in the exact same war. They are fighting their own obsolescence. The phantom weight cut is the process of shedding your humanity to maintain the fighter, only to realize the fighter must eventually die, leaving the human completely hollowed out. The fight business is an entirely parasitic entity. We, the audience, demand absolute psychotic dedication from these athletes. We demand blood. We cheer when they refuse to tap out and go to sleep instead. We gorge ourselves on the prime years of their lives, extracting every single drop of physical and psychological capital for our own entertainment. In the exact second they get too slow, or their chin gets weak, or their mind breaks under the pressure, we ruthlessly discard them. The machine that built them offers absolutely no rehabilitation for the neurological damage it mandated. Survival inside the cage is actually the easy part. Inside the cage, the rules are strictly defined, the referee is always present to save your life, and the time is strictly limited to 25 minutes. But survival outside of it, navigating the phantom weight cut, enduring the neurological withdrawal, and facing the vast, empty void of your own obsolescence, that is the real blood sport. This is Red Line Theory. Thanks for watching.